Hi, hello, and welcome. My name's Josh, and I'm here to help your brain get big just like monkey dories as we improve our testing methods today. Before we talk about the best way to test and practice, I think it's important that we acknowledge the different ways of testing and practicing, starting with PTCGL, the trading card game Live. PTCGL is a great way of practicing as it offers you a very quick and fast paced environment to get into matches and test and play decks that you don't have to financially commit to. All you have to do is have the dust to build the cards. Now, I would unfortunately place PTCGL testing at the very bottom of the barrel when it comes to testing. The environment's not controlled enough. You don't know what your opponent's playing for. You don't know what deck your opponent's even playing. And these are all factors that come into play when it comes to intentional testing. Now, it sure does beat doing nothing because just getting the reps in and learning your decks and playing the game will help you develop muscle memory when it comes to sequencing and getting to the end goal of the deck that you're currently playing and testing. So, while live may be the bottom of the barrel, it is still better than nothing. Next up, we have in person testing and practicing. And this isn't something I can really visually show you as I'm just sitting in front of a webcam explaining and talking about things, but I do have some B-roll footage I plan on putting on top of the screen here when I talk about this from the vlog this weekend. And basically, whenever it comes to in-person testing and practicing, you need to be very intentional with it. There's two types of in-person testing and practicing. There is the going to your league, playing to have fun and all that, and then there's sitting down from an opponent that is trying to get better at the game themselves and intentionally testing and playing different matchups and practicing that way. Now, there are two ways of going about testing in person. Like I said, kind of more casual, and the other is more intentional. But even further than that, when it comes to intentionally testing matchups, there is something that players like to do called open-handed testing. And what this is you play with both players' hand completely open, and you talk through the decision making, you talk through the playmaking from both sides of the field. Now, this might sound very familiar to another way of testing, and that's oftentimes referred to as shadow boxing. Shadow boxing is you kind of playing both sides of the matchup, and you don't have to really even have the other deck out. You're kind of playing one side of the matchup, and you're assuming the other side of the matchup has perfect setup and the perfect play to counter what you're trying to do. And this is a very abstract level, and I don't recommend it to beginners because you have to have a very good understanding of the metagame as a whole and every deck inside the metagame to do shadow boxing effectively. Now, that's shadow boxing the highest level, just going through and repeatedly testing your opening hands and checking your prize cards. That's a level of shadow boxing that I believe everybody should potentially try to do from time to time. And the last but not least ways of practicing and getting better at the game are tabletop simulators online. So, the number one reason that live is at the bottom is because it doesn't offer you the ability to kind of take back. There's no real intentionality behind live. There's no timer set that you can change, and there's no way you can take back moves and discuss things effectively. Now, this all changes with Limitless Tabletop Simulator here and another website, PTCG-Sim Online. They both have the same end goal in mind for you here of just playing the game online at your computer. And you can even play PTCG Sim Online with other players. As you see, there is a two-player mode here. And you can set up a room ID and you can play online with other players. This is very effective for testing groups that might not be located together or locally. The Limitless Tabletop Simulator is a bit more beginner friendly, I will say that. And the PTCG, that is a tongue twister. And the PTCG Sim Simulator is a bit more in depth, and it allows for custom imports if you want to have different card sleeves and stuff. But those things aren't important when it comes to testing. So I just wanted to make you aware that there are two variations of online testing currently available, with a third coming on its way. Hopefully soon we'll hear more about Twin Leaf. I do want to point out and say that all websites used today will be in the description below. Feel free to use them and utilize them to help yourself grow and become a better player today, because ultimately what I want is for the community to be the best version of themselves, and that comes with some intentional testing. So to use the Limitless Tabletop Simulator, you will need to import decks. Rather than talk through and build a deck and waste a lot of time doing that, I'm just going to go to Limitless Decks, and we're going to copy a deck list from Limitless. We'll go ahead and copy a Charizard EX deck here. Let's see, we've got some in-person placements, most successful players. Let's open complete tournament history. And we can go through and we can change the variant here. But let's just say, I want to copy Towards list from NAIC. So we'll copy this to clipboard. We'll go to Limitless Tabletop, paste that in here. And that is the deck imported for player 1. Now, typically, because this doesn't incorporate 2-player practicing like PTCG-Sim does, what we need to do here is we will open up a second tab. So what I'll do is we will duplicate the tab here, and you'll see that I get asked to import a deck again. So let's test the Charizard Pidgeot matchup, and let's see how it fares against, let's do a Chin-Pao, if I can find one real quickly here. Chin-Pao. We will go ahead and take the Malaysia winning deck list because I think it's pretty interesting. Didn't mean to click that. I meant to click on the 60, copy that to the clipboard. We'll go back here and we'll import that. Now, what we do is there are several keyboard shortcuts, and I'll happily show you and talk about them. But what we can do here, I'm going to go to the Charizard deck because this is the first one we imported. We can reset. You have your V-Star power, GX attack if you're doing that. We'll obviously want to flip our coin, and we get heads. So let's pretend that the Chin-Pao player picked heads, and now they get to go first. So we will click the deck, and you'll see that it's imported the deck. We want to close and shuffle, and we want to draw X. So you can right-click, draw X, and I want to draw these 7 opening cards from my hand. I will do that. And I have my 7 opening cards here. I unfortunately have to start Iron Hands, and then we can go to our prize cards here. We'll prize top card, and I will have 6 prize cards here. Now, depending on how you want to play, you can hide prizes or show them. Effective testing will involve prize checking, but if you're playing a deck for the first time, something I recommend to do is play with the prize cards flipped over, so that way you aren't wasting time when it comes to deck checking before you even decide if you want to play the deck. This way, you know immediately what resources you have available and access to. So let's go ahead and set up for the Charizard player now. And yes, this is a lot of going back and forth, and you can set up the monitor, or you could set up the windows in such a way where you don't have to tab back and forth. So we will draw X. We'll draw our 7 cards. Would help if I chose to shuffle first, wouldn't it? So if I do this, I can go through and I can switch with top of deck, but there's also shuffle into deck. And that keyboard shortcut is S. So if you click the card and hit S, you are shuffling that card into deck. I want to right click here and shuffle, and I can click and I can close and shuffle to just make sure it's shuffled. We'll draw X and we'll use 7. We have the Cleffa to start. And just to show you that you can hide the prizes, we're going to hide our prize cards, and we can go prize top card, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, now we're good to begin the game. You can type 1 on the keyboard here to draw 1 card, or you could always just hit draw after you right click. When in doubt for the keyboard shortcuts, don't be afraid to right click. Now, going first here, this is not great as I don't have any other basic Pokemon, and all I have is Iron Hands in the active. So I am going to need to drag Pokestop to the stadium section here, and I am going to need to use Pokestop. So what you do to Pokestop here, there are several ways of doing it. You can hold Shift and then 3. I believe that is a keyboard shortcut. Let's see. Shift 3. No, that did not do it. 1 second, folks. Alt, okay. So to use Pokestop here, we're going to hold Alt and then 3, and I can see the top 3 cards of the deck. So I will drag the Heavy Ball to my hand, and Dunsparce and Rotom V will go to the discard pile. I can go through, and I don't necessarily know what I'm against because my opponent just has a Cleffa in the active. So I have to make a choice here. I will play the Heavy Ball. We'll grab the Lumineon, and I need to put the Heavy Ball back into the prizes. So I'll put that. Let me go to my discard pile here, right click, and we will hit 2 prizes. And now I do need to shuffle my prizes, so I can do that. And you can see that shuffles the prizes for me. And remember, I don't know if I want to play this deck yet, so I'm just going about and doing this in such a manner that I have the prize cards revealed. Over here on the other player's side, they're hidden. Now, for Iron Hands, in the active, I probably want to at least attach to it. And I know from playing Heavy Ball, I don't have the electric energy prized, so I'm okay to go ahead and just attach the water energy to it. I'll go ahead and end my turn just by saying I end my turn, and I'll play the other side of the matchup now. We'll start by drawing 1 card. We hit the Drakeloak. So we'll play the Buddy Buddy Poffin. We'll click our deck, and we need to get 2 basic Pokemon onto our bench. So we'll select the Charmander here to bench, and the Dreepy to bench. Close and shuffle. Now, I could have gone for the Bidoof here, and I'm not going to talk about why or why not, but I already have 6 cards in my hand, and I'm going to Cleffa. There's not much else I can do here. I'm going to attach the Psychic Energy to the Dreepy, and I have Drakeloak to evolve it next turn. If I went for Bidoof Barrel, I'm limiting my search ability and my draw options for later in the game. So that's the reason why. It could be wrong. I'm not spending too much time thinking about it. We're just talking about the limitless way of testing right now. And then we would pass our turn. Well, we would draw our cards with Cleffa. Grasping Draw would draw us 3 here. So we would draw 3. And that's 7 cards in our hand. We'd go back to our opponent or ourselves, draw a card, and we would continue this process over and over and over again until a winner's decided. Now, like I said, the limitless version of this is not built for 2 players, but PTCG-Sim is built for 2 players. Let's take a second and talk about how PTCG-Sim varies. This is personally my preferred method of testing against myself and or playing with somebody online for intentional practice. So we can go over here and we can import the deck, but there are also several things. They have some deck lists, I believe, already to go for you. So right here on the book, if you want to play a deck from Scarlet and Violet Air, we have Charizard here. So I can just copy or click that and it would import that to me. Now, I really like this because they have decks from older formats that you can test and practice as well. I know there is a base through fossil tournament getting ready to happen in Indianapolis. So let's say I want to practice with the Haymaker deck right now. And I would import, I would confirm, and I have the Haymaker deck selected for player 1. So now we would go to import and alt 1 player only. This is if you want to place your alternative deck list here if you're playing against yourself, and I am playing against myself. If you're getting ready to play against a friend online, you do not need to worry about this. I'll come through and I want to test it against Rain Dance. And we would import, confirm, and both decks are now ready to be played. You don't have to shuffle them here. You have the button for set up both. So it would hit set up both. And we draw our opening hands. And this is so cool to see these old cards. Let's say I would want to start Electabuzz. Oh wait, we haven't flipped a coin. So this is just as easy as pie. All you do is flip a coin here, blue flip to tails, decide who goes first or second, reset both, set up both, and Bob's your uncle, you're good to go. So we have a basic here, but not a basic here. So what we would do is, because this button here is flipboard, you'll see now that the text is red. This means I'm player 2 or on the red side, and I'm on the blue side with this. I can go through and hit setup again, and it's essentially a mulligan. Electabuzz to the active, and I would go through and draw 1 card as a red player here just by pressing 1. I'm not going to spend as much time talking about what you can do here like I did with the Limitless one, because a lot of it is the same from this point once you get set up, but I will show and talk about that there is, I believe, the settings page over here where you can go to dark mode, change it to light mode. You can hide your opponent's hand if you are wanting to kind of play without that. Hide containers is just something for the aesthetics. And if you hold shift, this is the important part. If you hold shift, this is all the keyboard shortcuts. I do not have them memorized, but if you want to study it and have them memorized, by all means, this will make your life that much easier if you use this method of testing. Now, testing matchups is just one part of the battle. Recording your matchups and the spread of how many decks you are doing well against versus not well against can help you understand a different level of the game, because there are going to be strong decks in the meta that have counter picks to them. Something like Charizard EX and how it does not fare well against such as Chin Pao or Blocklax. So let's take a second now to talk about counterplay.gg. Counterplay.gg is a great website to have just kind of open on the side of your phone while you're playing either on live or with your partner that you're testing with in person, or even against yourself. It's just a great app, or a great website, I should say. It's not an app that I know of, on your phone, ready to help you just take notes and take control of understanding your matchup spread. Because I know when I first started playing, I didn't fully understand what people meant when they said matchup spread. So here, you're going to either type in the names of player 1, player 2. I'm just going to type in Josh, and then player 2 is going to be Kelsey, who is my wife. Player 1 deck, let's go back to the Limitless matchup here with Charizard and Chin Pao. And we're not going to finish the matchup, that would be a lot to do, but we're just going to show how it would go. So player 1 deck, let's say player 1 was playing Charizard. So it doesn't look like they have Dragapult Charizard on here yet, but you can always type in other for your deck. Or you just know that it's a Charizard Pidgeot deck, so you're going to select Charizard Pidgeot, and you will be up against Chin Pao. You can come through here, select the winning deck, and type in some notes. So let's just type in an example note here. Should have Ionoed earlier and targeted their draw engine, which is good advice against Chin Pao for any deck. So you hit submit, and it puts it down here. You have game 1 of your Charizard Pidgeot deck versus Chin Pao. Well, let's say if you go again, and this time Charizard wins. You'll hit submit, and you have that data. This is a very great method of going through and visualizing the data. Now, it looks like format we can change here to Twilight Masquerade. I just saw that there, and I forgot to mention that you can click on your profile because you do have to log in, so that's good to know. And you can even have your decks here. You can add your deck name, format, all that fun stuff. So now we should have Dragapult on here. Yep, Dragapult DX. So there's no Charizard Dragapult still. I don't believe so. So we'll keep it as just the Charizard Pidgeot. And you'll go through and you can record these matchups. This one was Charizard Pidgeot. Let's say Chin Pao came back in game 2. And let's say Charizard Pidgeot won it in game 3. So you'll quickly see the winner of each of these matchups. And what you can do with this information is to start to develop and understand how that matchup plays out overall. This is an intentional way of testing by note taking. This goes a little bit beyond just taking notes during the game, but after the game as well, because sometimes it's better to look at the game from outside, removed from the game itself, because you want to be unbiased as possible when selecting a deck for a major tournament or even a League Cup or Challenge, if you are able to understand and kind of test against your local meta. Once you have this data recorded, you can choose what you do with it next, either by taking it and importing it to Microsoft Excel and building a matchup spread chart, which is something I would love to spend time showing you guys in the near future. Or you can just take note of it here and understand, okay, I have a bad time matching up against Chin Pao, or I have a good time matching up against Chin Pao, based off of your testing and the results that you are able to get. So that gives you an idea of how to intentionally test and get better at the game through intentional testing. I hope this video is helpful. As always, thank you to Game Grove for sponsoring Pioneers. Cannot wait to see those jerseys that we just ordered in person, because they are on their way. Pioneers, baby, we're coming for you 2024, 2025. Cannot wait to see our players that are going to Worlds representing West Virginia with pride. Thank you guys, as always, for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you guys next time. Ooh, that was cool. That was good. I like that. That was a good ending.